Today there are a number of pieces of armour and weaponry that exist that belonged to King Henry VIII. Inside the Tower of London, for example, are two of the King's hunting guns, and these were big, powerful pieces of armament that one can imagine the huge Tudor king wielding on horseback. There are also a number of pieces of armour that show the sheer size of King Henry VIII, and he was a large and powerful man, but his armour tells the story of his life, and one set in particular has intricate carvings relating to his first marriage. But inside of the Royal Armouries Museum in Leeds is a strange and incredible helmet known as the horned helmet of Henry VIII. And this fearsome helmet was gifted to the king and is one of a few pieces of the infamous Tudor king's armour that still exists 500 years after it was made. The horned helmet of King Henry VIII is part of a full suit of armour which was made for the Tudor king by a skilled Austrian armourer known as Conrad Susenhofer. The piece was made between the year 1511 and 1514 and was a gift from the Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian I. In the years later, of course, Henry VIII would split from Rome, and he would cause chaos with the empire, and he even believed that they would invade England at some point. But as part of their alliance in the War of the League of Cambrai, the horned helmet was sent to England for the king. It's not known if this was a piece of armour intended to be worn by Henry VIII himself, or whether it was to be given to a fool or jester inside of the royal court, but Henry could have worn the helmet as a joke inside of his royal court, and it has a rather menacing look. The helmet has eyes that protrude out, and a pained, toothy look, and on top it has horns and also seems to be wearing glasses. This helmet survived much of the king's armour, which was scrapped following the English Civil War, but as a piece it is aimed to enclose the entire head of Henry VIII. Now at this time, Henry VIII was married to Catherine of Aragon, and he was rather happy, and was not yet in the business of upsetting people. The horned helmet showed the alliance between Henry and Maximilian I. The engraving on the helmet was done by a goldsmith from Augsburg, and the suit was finished in 1514. The suit was then sent to the English civil court in the year later, and the suit was the second armour gifted to Henry VIII from the Holy Roman Emperor, as he had previously sent gifts to England. But the armour may have been a piece to be worn at a tournament or an ornamental purpose. It wasn't a piece to be worn on the battlefield, as despite looking intimidating, the helmet would not have given sufficient protection against a warring enemy force. After Henry VIII's death, the entire suit of armour, including the helmet, was placed on display, but, as mentioned, much of this was sold for scraps following the English Civil War, as it was seen as a symbol of the monarchy. It's decorated very specifically, and the eyes even have crow's feet around them and a drip beneath the nose to look as if the wearer is a monster. Usually, during the 16th century, horns on helmets and objects were associated with the devil, or with those men who were cuckolds, and they were supposed to be a prominent symbol. It was during the 16th century displayed at the Tower of London, and at this time the helmet was attributed to one of Henry VIII's favourite fools, Will Somers, but he was not present at the royal court until 1525, showing that this was not the case and the horned helmet was intended for the king himself. It's probable also that the helmet was expensive to make, and it took a long time, and this was only ever an item intended for the king. There is a suspicion that the horns on top of the mask may not have been original, and this is due to the workmanship being said to have been lower than the rest of the helmet, but they were fitted and were presumably added very close to the date. The horned helmet was a piece of armour given to the infamous King Henry VIII, and throughout his life dozens of sets of armour were given to him, but many of them were special, and the horned helmet was an intimidating gift, and one which the Tudor king may have even worn inside the royal court to make others laugh. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.